Come back. Now let's take to the political scene now. Mheshimiwa, a lot is happening in the parliament. East Africa Legislative Assembly, you're still sitting. Allow me to ask you this question straight. Personally, what have you done so far now that you're having your sittings in the assembly?
Thank you very much, Victor. I think that is the best question I've had for a couple of years, because Africa Legislative Assembly, but rarely do we see the Kenyan media taking interest of what is happening in East African Legislative Assembly. Kenyans should know that East Africa community is an economic bloc. An economic bloc like no other. It have 50 million people. That means it's almost the size of the United States of America in terms of a bigger market. East African community have a land mass of 1.4 billion acres. And 1.4 billion acres, a desert, is all arable, whether in livestock keeping or in agriculture. The only non-arable land is on top of Mount Kilimanjaro and on top of Mount Kenya. We also have the tallest mountain in the world and the tallest mountain in Africa and the second tallest mountain in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro, Kenya. We also have 6,500 kilometers of coastline. We are the only economic bloc that touches on two major oceans and a sea. We touch on Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Eden. You can imagine that East Africa is placed in a way that it can do business with the Far East, China, Asia, all that area, Indian Ocean, via Kenya and Somali and United Republic of Tanzania. We can also do business with the through the Red Sea or through the Gulf of Eden.
Yeah.
We can also do business with the West, America, South America and North America, all of it through the Atlantic Ocean because of DRC. So we EAC, economic bloc, is the economic bloc with the highest number of rivers. Name our lakes. Lake Victoria, Lake, in Kenya alone, Lake Naivasha, Lake Nakuru, Lake Elementaita. We also have Lake Tanganyika. We have Lake Nyasi, the one that was Nyasa, or that one was formerly Malawi. We have Lake Kivu. I think Kenyans should see the economic bloc that is like no other in the whole world. We are the source of River Nile. We also Congo River is one of the largest rivers with the highest amount of waters in the world. All of it is in East Africa. Now, 2 months and 3 days after I was sworn in February 2023, I was sworn in December 17th, 2022. So in February 2023, on 20th, that is after my swearing in, I brought a bill that was passed of using local currencies within member states. Victor, we are in the worst form of slavery, the worst form of colonialism. Baptize is in any other way. Call it that we are servants. We are slaves. We are a colony. Whichever name you put it, we are under what we call economic neocolonialism. Because today, if I want to go to buy maize, I have to change Kenya shillings into dollars.
Yes.
At a fee.
Yeah.
Tanzania, I change the US dollars into Tanzanian shillings at a fee. The trade that we do between our partner states, we end up losing 10% to America. Pilipili usioila ya kuashiani. America are not the ones going to buy maize in Tanzania. They are in Tanzania. But they still get 10% of our inter-business trade. You go to some of these hotels in Nairobi.
Yeah.
You ask for their brochure. What do they tell you? Breakfast, $100. Ask that idiot to go to America and see if in America that is charged in terms of Kenya shillings. Why should we charge our hotels in terms of US dollars? Kenya shillings or Uganda shillings or Tanzania shillings or Rwandanese franc or South Sudan pounds bill, and we pass it. We are now waiting for all the partner states to ratify it.
Yes.
So all our countries, inter-country trade, we do it using our local. I buy Tanzanian goods, either using Tanzania shillings or Kenya shillings, but let them not sell US dollars.
Yes.
And that will strengthen our own dollars. I buy a Toyota from Japan. I buy using US dollars. Why? Americans producing the Toyota, they are not the one buying the Toyota. I should either pay using Kenya shillings or pay using Japanese, go through a third party. So I think I have introduced that bill. That is one of the things that I know I did. And then 6 months, actually 11 months and 19 days after my swearing in, that is on 6th December, I also introduced a bill on banning importation of leather products into East African Economic Bloc. And I can assure you, Victor, I did enough research. The East African Community Economic Bloc, we slaughter 15 million cows annually. That is cattle. Without even mentioning camels, goats, and sheep. 15 million, meaning we are from cattle in East African Community, translating to 310 pairs of shoes. We import into the East African Community Economic Bloc 91 million pairs of shoes. That is a contract. Our own leather here, we produce our own leather here, but we end up importing leather products from outside the country. Hides and skins in East African Community are eaten by dogs and hyenas. Of shoe, if it costs 500 shillings, we are talking about in East Africa, an industry worth 4 Kenya shillings. In Kenya alone, we are importing of shoes, yet we have 3.5 million cattle being slaughtered in Kenya alone. That means produce, because one hide from a cow produces 20 pairs of. We can comfortably in Kenya be able to manufacture 70 million pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
Million pairs of shoes translate to an industry or a factory worth 350 billion. If my bill is ascended to the head of state summits, then you can be assured that through banning products and exportation of raw leather, we will be able to create in East African community 2 million direct jobs and 14.9 million indirect jobs. I'm talking about those who finished product, those who will be selling the leather, the leather to the industry. So indirect jobs.
As you can see, let me just cut you short. So we have breaking news here.
Okay.
Talked about Haiti. The Prime Minister of Haiti and the Kenya, the President planning to police officers to Haiti. Now we have it that the embattled leader of Haiti, that is Ariel Henry, has resigned. Prime Minister, an elected leader of Haiti, has resigned after weeks of mounting in the Caribbean nation where gangs have been attacking government structures and is on the brink of collapse. So, according to Henry's advisor, that is Jean Junior Joseph, emphasizing that the outgoing Prime Minister would remain in his role until the formation of a new government. That is the breaking news at the splash there on your screens. That resigns as gangs ran rampant through country engulfed in crisis. That is Henry has resigned. He was here in the country to meet President William Ruto to firm up. And of course, it's also been on the front page of our local dailies. We just talked about it a few minutes ago, Mheshimiwa.
Yes, and I think now the agreement they agreed is because if the guy have resigned.
So who is now the legitimate?
Who is now the legitimate person to take care of the security of our men and women? And I think I talked earlier that keep on insisting that they will have to go to Haiti. You have to deploy them to Haiti. But you assure them of their security. Their security if there is no government. I think I'm a member of the UDA party.
Yeah.
And I'm still very loyal to UDA. But I think this issue of Haiti is becoming too hot for Kenya. So let our men and women provide security in the northern part of Kenya. We also have our own share of.
That's all right. So Henry was under pressure from the United States to secure political settlement, but it's far from clear who will step in. Yes, we'll get you more on that breaking news as and when we receive more of it. But there's the breaking news under the screen. The Prime Minister, that is leader, resigns as gangs run rampant through country engulfed in crisis. Mheshimiwa, sorry.
Yes, and you know, in Samburu, we lost even an MCA to bandits. See the reason of us going to Haiti while we have not even secured our own country. It was so painful.
Yeah.
Seeing a leader being killed in broad daylight. And you know, we talked about that because he's a leader. But how many common citizens have lost their lives? How many are still losing? My advice to Honorable Professor Kindiki. You are a professor and you understand. I believe so, having studied in terms of law. Now, those people you wanted to, those men in uniform and women in uniform, please deploy them to Samburu and northern Kenya to make sure that are saved from the bandits. So I think that issue of the banditry in northern Kenya will be solved now once and for all. On this issue that, yes, you had asked me, what have I done? And I've given you an explanation. That within, after my swearing in, I was sworn in on 17 December 2022. On February, I had this bill that I have explained on the use of local currencies within our partner states. 6 months, 19 days after my swearing in, that is on 6th December 2023, I had brought this bill on banning importation of leather products and exportation of raw leather, so that our own industry. Why did I have to go to these two specific ones? First of all, as a country and as a community economic bloc, we don't. So I intend that we invest in what we call intensive investment. In labor-intensive investment, we as a capital rather than If you go into, you need the financial capital, and since we don't have financial muscles, we end up borrowing and having loans and loans after loans.
Yeah.
You have renewing and renewing and renewing, and the fisher circle will never end. So for me, when I saw what we use the potential of East African Community Economic Bloc, and actually Africa as general, is the human capital. Because not to produce cars, phones, or any other thing, but to produce plenty in terms of children. We really numbers. While Japan produced Toyota cars, we produce children. So the human capital, we have it in plenty. On labor.
What did you just say, Mheshimiwa?
No. But it's a fact. You know, it's a fact. The youngest population.
Right.
Yes. So younger population mean, you know, if you count the number of cars that are in Japan and count the number of, by the way, that is how we can compete with them. So I decided that what we'll do is to investment, because we have the human capital as opposed to the financial capital. Japan, because they sell the world, they have the financial capital. For us, we even export labor to the Middle East.
Yeah.
We produce children to the market every day. So we better use the human capital. Now the leather industry, capital, because it's a labor intensive investment.
Yeah.
The timber industry, which is the next bill that I'll bring, that we ban importation of into the East African community.
Yes.
So that we can use the Congo forest. We can use the Mao forest. Yes? The that is there to produce our own local furnitures and even export furnitures. Because I have told you, because we are in touch with the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Gulf of Eden. So we can easily export all over the world. The same with leather products. I've told you, this leather industry, million direct job. It will create 14.9 million indirect jobs. When I talk about indirect job, our hide and skin.
Yes.
Because our hide and skin, like in the last drought, 2.5 million cows or cattle died in Kenya. Those hide and were eaten by dogs and hyenas. Yet when the cow get the skin does not get sick. It is only meat that is not edible. But the hide and skin from maybe from a cow that have died of anthrax.
What other bill are you planning to submit before the parliament?
The I'm planning is the banning of importation of furnitures. You know, why am I in these bills that are labor intensive? We don't. The moment the government, as I have passed that bill on 6th December 2023 in Kigali,
yes,
of banning leather products, the government does not need to give us money, just ban importation. We have 9 million school-going children. They need leather shoes. We have the uniform police. We have yourself as Victor. Characters that are here, apart from my sister here, they have leather shoes. Now, if they have leather shoes,
yes,
the market is already, materials are already there. The human capital is already there. So you and me can come up with a leather industry.
Where's the missing? Then where is the missing gap?
The missing gap is simple. We are a dumping ground for use from all over the world. That is what I want us to ban.
And
the government just banned
the capacity.
Yes, we have the capacity. A leather industry can only cost around 10 million Kenya shillings. So many Kenyans can afford that leather industry. But today, we cannot. Why? Because we are a dumping ground. There are so many counterfeit are not actual leather, they are synthetic leather. How do you synthesize leather? That are coming in and coming into our... So that is why I appreciate all the countries, the member states that were there at that time, because we were 7 when I was joining us. But all the member states, 7 of them, starting from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, DRC,
yes,
all supported my motion, and it went through without
congratulations.
So it went through.
You are getting, I'm asking this question perhaps for the first time ever since sworn in, but what are you going to achieve, you know, at the end of your tenure, because it's renewable? Term, I mean.
Of course, Kenyans know that already the East African community have been able to 2 pillars out of 4.
Yes.
Because we are anchored under 4 pillars. That is the custom union, the common market protocol union, and the political union. Now, in terms of the custom union, you are aware you can travel to Uganda, South Sudan, and Rwanda. It is only some countries that don't have security features, still don't use IDs, but you don't need a visa. We now have East African passport, not Kenyan passport,
yes,
not Uganda African passport, because we are one people, so that we can be able to travel without interference, because in movement of people freely across our borders, so that Victor, as a journalist, you can work without any interference, because you are an East African, and we all have East African passport. Now we also have goods from Kenya can be sold in Uganda, can be sold in Rwanda, because we have non-tariff barriers. Goods, you need 3 hours so that you clear through our borders. We used to use 3 weeks from Mombasa all the way to Kigali. Now we are only using 5 days traveling from of non-tariff barriers. So at least we have implemented those pillars. Monetary union, where we will end up having a single currency. But because I've already brought a motion that was passed, currencies within our inter-country trade, we are going towards that one. In 2031, we'll be able to political federation. We found that a federal government is stronger, and every country. So we have decided to amend the treaty, political confederation, as a stopgap measure, have a political confederation as we go towards a political federation. So I think we have achieved a lot. Let Kenyans, and you know, when we are sitting in Arusha, we get the Rwandan media, we get the Ugandan media, always following our. But the Kenyan media is very busy following the proceeding of Azimio and Tangatanga and Kenyan politics. Sometimes also think geopolitics. Don't always think about local. Assembly is doing.
And that is why you're here.
Yes.
And that is why you are here.
Yeah, and I thank you.
Thank you so much. Allow me to ask the East Africa Legislative Assembly, you still have the 3 mandates.
Yes.
All right. More or less the same as what you're. But you as a person, do you feel that you are putting the Kenyan map there? Yes, I know you want to. How are you making your presence felt that you are in the assembly, your bills, you're putting your bills in the assembly, and today you're going to make every bill that you take in that assembly to go through?
You know, Victor, you may make other countries to oppose me, a Kenyan, and they know I have an origin from Kenya. All my bills are biased towards the Kenya, because the highest number of livestock, when we ban the importation of leather products, is actually Kenya. And we can easily be the ones manufacturing and supplying to the 350 million East Africa. That market will be taken by Kenya.
Okay.
Again, when I talk about use of local currency, Victor, currently in East African community, of course, it's the Kenyan currency.
Yeah.
So who will have the advantage?
Who will have the advantage?
The upper hand. So, secrets between us and
members
and Kenya.
What is your main focus as the assembly now? What's as assembly now in general? What are you focusing on to push forward?
First of all, we had 2 dreams of our Pan-African forefathers.
Yes.
The dream of Kwame Nkrumah of uniting Africa into one, just as an instant. But then there was another school of thought from Julius Nyerere, who wanted Africa not to unite at once, because having an agreement between 54 countries is a tall order. So Nyerere decided, let us have economic blocks that will be stronger. And then after having economic bloc, ECOWAS, IGAD, and EAC, you know, these economic blocks will end up becoming the building blocks for the United States of Africa. And I think we went through the channel of Julius Nyerere.
Yes.
That let us not unite Africa at once, let us grow and build strong economic blocks, and then these ones become the building blocks of the United States of Africa. So for us in EAC or in EALA, we are trying to admit as many countries as possible. We have already admitted Somali. We are admitting Ethiopia very soon. Sudan, Khartoum will be admitted very soon. Malawi, so that we can grow as an economic bloc strong enough to be a building block for the United States of Africa.
Very good. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much. Trust me, you'll be back here at the end of your sittings, ending on 20th of this month.
Yes, and lastly, before even I go,
yes, in 20 seconds.
I wish all our Muslim brothers Ramadan Mubarak.
Right.
And again, let everybody know that I'm supporting Raila Odinga for the chairmanship of African Union Commission, because it will bridge the gap between the younger generation and our Pan-African forefathers. Victor, did you meet with Kwame Nkrumah at one time? Did you dine with them or talk with them? Did you meet with Muammar Gaddafi? Did you meet with Mugabe? Say no. Even me, I didn't meet. It is Raila who have met those characters and still knows the younger generation, so it will be a bridge. Currently, the only soul alive that can carry the aspiration of our Pan-African forefathers of uniting Africa into the United States of Africa is none other than His Excellency the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga.
Mheshimiwa Sankok, thank you so much. Member of Parliament, East Africa Legislative Assembly. Today we've talked about his vision and some of the bills that he's taken in Parliament there, and representing the entire block of East Africa Legislative Assembly. He'll be back here once they are done with the sittings that is culminating on 20th of this month, and we'll talk much more on that and much more coming later on. All right, the breaking news that we splashed there is that the Haitian president, beg your pardon, Haiti's unelected prime minister, that is Ariel Henry, has resigned. That is what is here right now. The chair of the Caribbean group of countries has said, following weeks of mounting pressure and increasing violence in the country. It comes after the regional leaders met in Jamaica on Monday to discuss a political transition in Haiti. That is what we have. But be sure to join us here later on in the program. We'll be giving you more details as and when we receive it. But right about now, I'm taking you cross over to Zinga.